Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. And I'm your host, Kent Pavelka. Welcome again to Metro and More, more of what you need to know about Metropolitan Community College. 50 years on, Brown and Proud is the subject of our 60-minute discussion ahead. Colin Cox has rejoined us. Colin is screenwriter, playwright, producer, and director who's been on the show half a dozen times now. It seems like. It's good to have you back, man.
It's great to be here, Ken.
Good to see you again. And joining us on the set, Anthony Bryce Graham, who is an actor in the presentation, the production that Colin brought to campus recently, and Marie Ponce, who is also in the production, are all three guests part of a live performance recently at the South Omaha campus as part of the Hispanic Latino Heritage Month celebration activities at the college. Again, good to have you all on the show.
Nice
Thank
to be
you.
here.
Thanks, Ken.
And on campus and in Omaha. Colin, we've talked about your career. It is it's a fascinating story. You've done so many different things. Just recap a little bit where you got started. Well, you'll be able to tell Colin's accent. It all started in England.
In England, yep. I was born at Stonehenge. I'm a druid, no, but I was born at Stonehenge. My career, I was a biochemist, did research in oncology and diabetes. I was also an actor in England with the National Youth Theatre, Great Britain. I then went to China, I then went to Japan. I taught in Japan, taught biochemistry in Japan. I then came to Hollywood, started a theatre company called Will & Company. Since then I've been a Shakespeare professor. I've taught evolution at USC. I've toured all 50 states, and my plays have performed at over 500 colleges now. So now I'm dedicated to writing. I'm also a screenwriter. I'll have a movie in India next year, and then one in New Zealand, and a television series that's in the works. And Portraits of Courage, one of the shows that came here, is going to be a television series. In fact, I'm on my way back to Hollywood to negotiate that deal. So.
Wonderful.
That's me.
Yeah, that's a lot of you. I mean, which part was it? Left brain, right brain was the in science, and on the other hand, in what you're doing now.
I don't know why. At 8, I wanted to be a biochemist. I really don't know why, but I really had this urge to be a biochemist. I found out what they were, and I was like, I want to do that. And at 10, I then came upon the urge to be an actor. And it came from, I was exposed to Shakespeare. I was exposed to the Scottish play, which for superstitious reasons, we won't say the title, but you can say it, the Scottish play. Yeah. And I didn't understand a word of it. And as a child, I was like, I really want to understand what this man is saying about the human condition. And so that was the combination. So I managed, remember I went to school in England where they paid for us to go to college. so
the motivation was...
Yeah, so I was great. I had 7 years of school and lots of degrees. And at the same time, I would go to London and perform Shakespeare. So that's how it came about.
Before we dig into Will & Company and 50 years on, Brown and Proud, what was Shakespeare trying to say about the human condition? Did you ever get an answer to that question?
I'm still getting it. I've done all of his plays. I've taught all of them, directed all of them. His power is his power to observe human behavior and not judge it. I think the really important thing is that he lays it out for you, the audience. You decide. You bring your own experience and your own purview of the world. The reason he's such a brilliant writer is he does not judge what he's writing.
So he didn't say anything?
He didn't say anything, no. He laid out observations for you to then judge and decide what is going on in this situation or with this character. And that, to me, is great writing. You don't find the writer. The hard part about Shakespeare, or the beautiful part for me, is you can't find Shakespeare. Now, there are places where I can say, there he is, there he is, there he is. But for the great part, and I think we could have a discussion about great writers, but I believe great writing, the writer is absent. They get themselves out of the way, and the actors will talk about the same thing, that for great acting, it's not the opinion of the actor, it's not my opinion on stage. That's worthless, quite honestly. I try to take Shakespeare as the model. These are observations, and having been to all 50 states and 500 colleges and interviewed hundreds of young people about their experience of being an American, I try to offer observations so that, like today's audience, then take it away and decide how they feel about it. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, what is the greatness of Shakespeare.
Well, Marie, you've got some things to say about Shakespeare because you've done some Shakespeare
I have done some
fairly
Shakespeare.
recently, right?
I did,
Yeah.
yes. How do you know that?
Well, I do my homework.
Yeah, the most recent play, well, I was in The Tempest. I played Miranda in Tempest, but I also played...
Across the pond, right, in England?
Yes. Well, we went to Macedonia
Oh.
and Albania. That was
Not,
fun.
not exactly England.
No,
No.
but they put it on another company and eventually took it to the Globe, which was great. We didn't get to go. We were the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
That he worked with the company. But yeah, I have a lot to learn about Shakespeare. I could use working with Colin a little bit more on some Shakespeare. But I love it. I played my favorite Shakespeare role. I played Richard, Duke of Gloucester in Henry VI, Part 3. So.
And what was the character doing and saying?
Richard, it's Richard's journey. Richard III is the famous one. Everyone knows about Richard III, but it's how he gets, I mean, it's Part 3, so there's lots that go on in Part 1 and Part 2, but Part 3 is his journey up to where you see him start, Richard. And doesn't it end right
It
where...
ends right there. In fact, Olivier, when he did the movie, actually incorporated that famous monologue, which is at the end of Henry VI, Part 3, and put it in the beginning of Richard III. Richard III, the Gloucester is the character that will become Richard III, whose body they just found. They just found his bones under a parking lot in England. And they've just done the anatomy, because I'm a biochemist, so I love both sides of this. They just did the comparative anatomy on him, and indeed he was hunchbacked. And it seems that he died with a double blow to the skull. So all of the things that Shakespeare had in the play are now, they've just discovered his body, are being found out to be true. And now the fight is where he's going to get buried, where they're actually going to bury the real Richard III. So they just found him. But that's that famous, now is the winter of our discontent. It's that guy that she's talking about.
That hops into that. So it's his journey to that, and I really enjoyed.
Now, where did you get started? You went to Westmont College,
I
Santa
did.
Barbara?
In Santa Barbara, yes.
And then?
And then I was in Santa Barbara for 2 years, 3 years, working with different companies, working as a nanny to pay bills. And then really loved that community there, but wanted to move on to LA and have way more opportunities and more things. It's constantly bubbling. Everyone's always doing something and working, so it was time for me to jump onto the next city. So. And I'm from Southern California, so LA was a familiar area.
And Will and Company is a Southern California based.
Yeah, we were created in LA. We started in LA in 1989. We've been around for a while now. But now we've done the whole country, Alaska 4 times. So
Yeah.
we've
Most
done the
recently
whole place.
in Wisconsin.
Yesterday,
or here,
we drove in last
Yeah.
night, got here at 2 a.m. So drove from, we were at UW Stout.
Isn't
the show
showbiz
yesterday.
great, Anthony?
Oh yeah,
It's pretty glamorous, that travel, isn't it?
I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Before I booked this role, I was just asking the universe. I was like, I want to work with an awesome director who's going to kick my butt, and then I get to travel. And then like a week later, I got this phone call to audition, which I almost didn't go to, but I went, and so I'm having the time of my life. I get to
for
see
you.
the country. It's beautiful.
You're a Trojan. You're a USC
How do you know this? Yes.
Ben knows everything. Ben knows
master's
everything.
degree
Yes.
in theater arts, is it?
Yes, I'm an MFA from USC. I graduated in 2010, and I've been finding my way through the industry. I'm creating my own work. I have a film that's in post-production.
Really?
I've learned a lot from this guy and been trying to find ways to bring money to his projects through some connections that I have, and that's been exciting and exhausting. And you see a different side of Hollywood, and then you hear the attitudes that people have towards Hollywood in a different way from the producing side. So it's been really interesting and exciting.
I have to be totally honest with you. I don't know anything about Hinch, but had a part in the TV series, right?
Hinch, I have a small part in the series created by my friend Daryl Crittenden.
Sorry, what's
promoting
Hinch?
Hinch is this show about this guy who gets recruited by these assassins, and they end up assassinating each other. And it's just this series about this guy's journey, and I play one of the assassins, and I get killed. And that's it.
And that would explain why it wasn't you didn't last the whole series.
I did the last whole series. But season 2, they bring me back for flashbacks. So I'll be in season 2.
Very good.
And you'll hear my story and my arc.
Where's it shown? What network?
Right now, they are showing it on YouTube. I think they just won some kind of competition, like web series competition.
Yeah.
So
It'll show up.
yeah, it will. He's
Yeah.
doing really well too. He was just on some series premiere of some show. So that gives that
Good
gives
plug.
that gives
Some series, some
Hey,
show.
as long as people
the one
have-
with Jennifer Love Hewitt. Which one's that one?
I can't
No one
remember now.
remembers.
We don't
but,
know. Yeah.
but he's doing well, and so that'll give.
if you've got Google, you can just
Exactly.
Google
Right,
Hinch.
Jennifer
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
Hewitt.
Google
Yeah.
Hench.
Hench.
Speaking of this gig, how did you come to choose these two for this?
Well, the 50 Years On is 7 plays in the series. So we've done the African American, and in fact, Anthony will follow up next year with that one as well. But so obviously, when we come to the Latino, I'm looking for Latino actors. So we put the word out, and then they come in. And in LA, we have an array of actors. We're fortunate that LA does have a diverse group of actors to try and draw from. So when Native Americans are always hard. When you put out the call for Native Americans, it's hard. But there's a great organization in LA called Native Voices. So we call them and say, do you have Native American actors? So we basically put the word out that we're looking for, this group of actors to be able to present this show. And in this case, it had to be Latinos. So we put the word out for Latinos. And then these two came along, and I liked them and said, okay, do you want to go on the road with me? And they had no idea what they were getting into. But
Nope.
that's how it comes about. That's how it always comes about. Last time we had the Asian American actors,
yes,
if
we
you
did.
remember. Yeah,
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, what about these two?
What
Caught
about
your
them?
fancy?
Why? Really a willingness to look at areas of their life they knew nothing about. Actually, I think that was what was exciting about this. And they were like, "Wow, I didn't know any of this. I'm
50 years
Latino
ago.
and I don't know any." Or today, 50 years, and what the social issues have become. And I really want to explore this. And yes, I will gladly drive 400 miles in the middle of the night from Wisconsin to Nebraska
Yeah.
and set up for a show at 12 o'clock. So there's a willingness to take the part on. There's a willingness to bring your passion, your belief in the social justice issues. That's important for the actor, that they come and, because I'm a druid from Stonehenge. They live this life. They understand what it is to be Latino in America. And so that's what I'm looking for. Can they bring that passion? Are they willing, in a sense, it's an actor's phrase, but are they willing to get naked? Emotionally, psychologically, naked on stage and show the audience not so much what the facts are, that I can do that, I'm the writer, but how does it feel? And that's an actor's skill. So that's what you're looking for in the actors. Are they willing to bring the emotion to the heartache that is some of the social justice issues that we're presenting in our plays?
So, we've got some clips we want to show you of the presentation at the South Omaha campus. Before we do that, just talk a little bit about what, first of all, how's the play structured? How many acts? And there's all 3 of you in it, right?
Yes, I'm actually an actor.
Yeah.
I get to act in this one. So, it's 65-minute format. That's the format of all of our plays. We go into a college. That's usually the time slot that they want. We just found the equation is 65 minutes. We know there's going to be a post-show, so we want to leave post-show discussion, so we leave some of that. So we're looking to design a show, address a number of issues. So I found, this is my 15th show of this nature, I found that 65 minutes addressing 6 issues seems to be what a college audience can handle.
So
that's
that's
the
like
format.
6 scenarios?
6 scenarios. And it's multimedia in that we set up each piece with a montage video of what the piece they're about to act, or the scene they're about to act, is what the issues are going to be presented in that scene. So we go video, then it goes into them. I just play all the nasty white men in the show. So I pop in and play nasty white men now and again.
Typecasting, man.
Typecasting, yeah. The villain, English villain, of course. I have a Jaguar, yes I do. No, and then they portray the characters, the historical characters 50 years ago, and then the contemporary characters that are looking at the social issue.
Okay,
where it
well
is today.
let's run through those 6,
Okay.
6 scenarios really quickly
Okay.
here, and then we'll show some video.
Sure.
What's the first one? What's the historic context, and then where do you
Bracero.
take it?
Bracero was
Bracero.
first, right?
The Bracero program was a program that the United States created, invented, in order to legally invite 5 million Mexican and Central American workers into the country.
In
to
what
help-
years are what we're
and
talking
you're
about?
starting in 1940.
Okay.
Now our kind of like, date that we pick is 1964.
Okay.
So the events are either going to begin in 1964 or end in 1964. Okay, so around 1964, this program ended. And from 1940 to 1964, you had 5 million invited legal workers brought from the South to help California, Oregon, Washington's economies blossom. And this was a hugely successful program. And a lot of, if you study the Bracero program, you'll find there's a lot of union, a lot of minimum wage, a lot of industrial workers' actions took place during the course of this program. But we begin it when it ended. Because when it ended, these 5 million invited workers who had built California into the 5th most powerful economy in the world
We're invited to leave, right?
were invited to leave. Exactly. All sent back. All sent back. And then you get into they're illegal migrant workers. And so that we present this story and how the government managed to invite them to leave. The seminal event, which was a crash, a very disastrous crash where 57 braceros were killed in a train accident. And that suddenly was the catalyst to send them all home. And then we jump it forward to...
Then we talk about Gustavo Garcia, who was the...
That's the Law and Order, but in the
we talk about
Bracero program,
Yeah.
yeah.
Years.
We talk about how people, the agriculture still needs to grow and flourish. And
In 2014.
in 2014, there's only one group of people who are going to do that, and so they're here illegally, and they are at the whims of being treated any way that someone feels they can treat them, which is usually poorly and like crap. Excuse
And
my
the
language.
story that we tell is of a young man whose uncle had brought him up. And this is a true story, happened in San Diego. I mean, a lot of the stories I take from interviews and witness and combine with the history. And this young man, his parents had been killed in a car crash. His uncle, his tío, had brought him up, and they traveled the whole country on what is kind of the migrant circuit. So California, Oregon, Washington, even across to Maine, picking berries. But the uncle was determined to get the young man into college. Do you want to pick it up from there?
Yeah, he's determined to get the man into college, and he has his nephew work so hard that he eventually goes to college. And when the nephew comes in to show him his acceptance papers, he finds his uncle lying on the couch, brutally beaten up and mangled. And the uncle tells the story about how he was out picking fields, and these men came and chased him and told him to get out of his country. They're taking jobs from American workers, and they beat him darn near to death. And so the nephew is left with the question of how can this be the America this isn't the America that was promoted to me. America's supposed to be this place where you can come and pursue your dreams. And we did everything that we were supposed to do, and I actually made it, and this isn't supposed to happen. Really, you're gonna tell this man that you want him to get out? You really want his job? He makes no money at all, $10,000 a year. He works 60 hours a week is what he says, and his life expectancy is 49. And you really want that job? And he's like, if you want it, then fine, take it. But in the beginning, the uncle has this joke about his nephew making sure that he wears sunscreen. And he likens sunscreen to education. Because if you have this education, you're protected from this kind of work that we're doing right now.
You're not gonna
And so
see
he
the
tells
sun.
these people that if you want this job, wear plenty of sunscreen, because they're going to need it, because you go out in these fields and the sun's burning on you. And yeah.
What role do you play in this part?
I play the tío. I play the
He
uncle.
plays the uncle.
Oh, you are the uncle.
I
Okay.
play
all
the
right.
uncle. Yeah.
So you've done a lot of male acting.
There's, because
Shakespeare
He
and
plays a lot of
Yes.
movies.
all three of us float in and out of these. I
Yeah.
play the
Characters.
nasty man who beats the uncle up, of course.
Well, in the interest of talking about the art form, maybe the best presentation of an art form is not to try to influence somebody's opinion, just let them draw conclusions. I mean, what other conclusion could you have after what you've just described, other than the more things change, the more they stay the same? I mean, you're contrasting
Yes.
1940 to
Yeah.
2014,
Right.
right?
Yes.
What other conclusion can you come to?
In this case, with the, but I think what's important is there is the notion. There's an important line where he says the majority of Latinos in the United States are American citizens. I think that's a very important statement because most people will tell you they're not.
Yeah.
They are immigrants or they came here, but the great majority of Latinos are American citizens. And I think nobody really comprehends that these 5 million migrant workers were invited by the federal government to come and help create the great booming economies that are California, Oregon, and Washington. So we're trying to expose, this is American history that every American should be aware of.
Well, let's take an opportunity and show that clip from Bracero.
Sure.
This is from Will and Company's presentation at the South Omaha campus. Let's take a look.
In total, 5 million Mexican workers toil in the fields. Though mostly men, they include women and children as young as 10 years old.
My abuelito, he was a bracero in Texas. He picked cotton. 300 pounds a day. They pay him $2. It's very hard to pick cotton. The cotton makes me cry.
Oh, no, mija, your hands will bleed badly. Mira, like this.
Papa, how many braceros come to America?
5 million.
That's a lot of people.
It is, mija.
How did abuelito become a bracero?
He came from Coahuila. They are the best cotton pickers in all the world. Then he went to Chihuahua City to sign the papers. Then he showed the palms of his hands to prove he is a farmer. Then they take off his clothes and they spray him.
Spray?
The white powder.
Why?
Kill all the Mexican fleas.
Fleas have a country?
It seems so, mija.
There are no fleas in America?
No, mija. In America, only pigs have fleas. Si se puede, Cesar Chavez. He and Dolores helped form the United Farm Workers Union in their famous Uvas No grape strike.
Today, California is the 8th largest economy in the world. Texas is 14th. Cesar Chavez is honored with a national holiday. So, are we treating our migrant workers better now? Have we stopped the abuses of children in the fields?
My uncle, he's funny. When I was little, he always used to say,
Mijo, you gotta get an education. Because education's like sunscreen. Once you get yourself some sunscreen, you won't get no sunburn picking no damn tomatoes.
I would always just laugh. Till I turned 12 and was legally old enough to work in those fields. Yep, America, we allow 12-year-olds to work 12 hours a day picking our blueberries. And I can tell you, one day in those fields, and I knew what the hell he was talking about. That night, as Tio rubbed lotion into my sunburned, rash-infested, aching skin, he asked me,
How about that sunscreen now, mijo?
that day I vowed I would go to college and make my uncle proud. And I did. Last week, I went to see him. I went to show him my acceptance papers, right? I went to show him that America stands for what it believes in, that the son of a migrant worker can still gain a place in the American family. It would be a proud day for both of us. So I believe. My uncle lay covered in horrific cuts and bruises, his right eye patched. Tio, what happened?
Ay, Sabrina, it's bad again, just like Operation Wetback. I go to pick the tomatoes, and a truck come with many white men. They have tattoos, swastikas. I try to run, my back. They hunt me like rabbit. I hide in the bushes. They shoot me with pellet guns.
I grimaced at the welts all over his body where the bullets had lodged into his skin.
They say I come, they not hurt me. But when I come, they hit me with baseball bats and iron bars.
50 years on, Brown and Proud, Will and Company at Metropolitan Community College, South Omaha campus. Maria, how much of this history were you aware of before you?
A little ashamed to say, not a whole lot. I had great grandparents that I know were that worked in the fields, and my dad, some, just mostly with my grandpa. But as far as the Bracero program goes, none. And that was astounding to me and eye-opening and heartbreaking. But also a sense of pride that they were brought here. They were invited. America needed help. They needed help, and they had these people that could come, and they did. The Braceros worked and labored and toiled and made America rich, made America wealthy, and when in time that they needed it. So.
Do you two think you're representative of your age group in terms, Latinos, Latinas in your age group that are largely ignorant of this past, this history?
Yeah, I do.
I
I
think
think
so.
so, very much so. I
And
didn't
so
know
what's the
anything.
value to learning this, to realizing the real historical facts?
I think when you have an opportunity to learn about yourself, one thing happens where you become more aware of where you come from, and so there's a certain pride about it. Like, oh, I came, like she was saying, we Mexican workers, Central American workers, were the foundation of a huge industry in this country. And so in that, you have this sense of pride.
Not only agriculture, just
Yeah.
quickly, they also built the railroad lines.
And the railroad.
They also built the
Right.
buildings. They also built the roads. They built the complete infrastructure that made California the 5th most powerful economy in the world.
Yeah, that's an important point.
Yeah.
A massively important point, you know.
But at the same time, it also, when you see that these issues still exist today, there's such a huge responsibility to bring further awareness to we present this information to the kids, college students, and we hope that they take this away, go research it, dig deeper, and then spread this on.
And do what with that realization? I mean, what do you do with this revelation?
That there are a number of things to do. That the creative mind is limitless. So whatever one is inspired to do as a result of hearing this, the responsibility is to do that.
I think one of the really, really important things to just on what Anthony is saying is to catch the story up. The story of American history has only been a white history. White people built America. You can take any American textbook in the 9th grade and you go through it, and basically you're led to believe that this, native land, this manifest destiny land, these my people came across and suddenly built this great, city on a hill. And it's just not true. It's just not true. So I think the initial thing is to just expose the fact that this city on a hill, that, these, God-fearing white folks from Europe came and built this land. That's a myth. That's the biggest myth this country's ever been built on.
Let me throw this at
Sure.
you. I don't disagree, but I think at the same time, the people that get credit for building things are the people that have the money.
And
And the workers today don't get any more credit
right.
than the people dead back then, regardless of skin color.
But the creators and the inventors and everything like that, the people who get credit are the people who write the history books. And it's time to rewrite the history
yeah,
books.
no, I agree.
And make people aware that the creators, is Daniel, what's his name? There's the creators, the inventors, and everything, have always been Native American, African American, Latino, gay, women.
Poor whites.
Poor white, yes, poor
Have
Appalachian.
been-
We have an Appalachian,
Have been everybody.
Have
Yeah.
been
Nobody
everybody.
should be excluded. Not even the white Americans, the white English settlers who came over here, the Irish settlers who came over here and helped build this country either. Everyone should be included. However, the majority is constantly excluding the minority, and that's not right. I mean,
But I think once that balance is
Yeah.
addressed, you can move forward. The thing is this notion of like, okay, there's a black president, it's all better now. No, it's not all better now. And these stories, I mean, they themselves are amazed when they find these stories out. So then when you go to a college campus, and they go, why don't I know this? Why have I never been taught this? That's the beginning to what do you do now? Once we then bring us all on the same page, literally on the same page, where, yes, Jefferson, we're going to go to Mount Rushmore tomorrow, but, those 4 guys are on the page. They're alongside with Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull, and, and they're also alongside, with Pine Leaf, who was a transgender Native American, who was hugely important in American history, and they're alongside with Gustavo Garcia, and they're alongside with all of the Americans that built this country. Then you can, I think that's when you start moving forward.
So as you do the play, and you take questions and answers from the audience afterwards, do you see the light in the eyes of the students, as far as this being a revelation to them too?
Yes.
When I do my job and don't put any of myself on it, but really, really passionately present what is going on, that happens, and it's beautiful when it happens. And the students have these extraordinary questions, and we have this wonderful, we know.
What do they want to know?
They want to know where can they find more information? Why don't they know this at all? They want to know what pieces we identify with the most, what we found the most surprising. What else do they want to know?
There's always at least one. I would say there's one person that I will identify with afterwards that will come talk to you or not come talk to you that looks like how I looked
Yeah.
the first time. I remember that look, that light, but also that astonishment and that, okay, now what? Like they want to run out of the building and do something.
Yeah.
And
That's
you
what I
feel
was
that
getting
way.
at. Now what? I mean, what do you do with what do we do with this?
You know, often the group that is brought to the performance, in my mind, is the wrong group. It's great to have them because they're the choir. You take it to the non-choir. And we were told a very disturbing story today that one school wasn't present because certain faculty at that school didn't believe that they should be allowed to come to this performance. You've got to go and take those people on. You've got to go, this notion of white privilege has to be challenged. We have to understand what that white privilege, that when you're born in America as a white person, you are immediately privileged. That conversation has to take place. The reaction to that conversation has to take place. Young white college students need to come back and say, I don't understand, what is so privileged about me? So that, when you have that conversation and when both sides come and they both talk honestly about their fear of each other, that's when things get moved forward. This like it's all better now, shove it under the carpet, look, you got a black president, what more do you want? That we've got to push the conversation until I'm not afraid of him and he's not afraid of me.
Let's go to the U.S. Supreme Court and Gustavo Garcia. Set this one up real quickly.
Gustavo Garcia is a man, he was born in San Antonio. He became a lawyer, he managed to become a lawyer, and he's the first Latino Hispanic to ever present before the Supreme Court of the United States. And he presented a case which really is for all of us, in the sense it was the final block in the jury of your peers. You'd had the Plessy case and you had the other cases for African Americans. And at that point, when he presents to the Supreme Court, there are only two groups of Americans. There are black Americans and there are white Americans. Latinos, Mexican descent, as Gustavo, that was his phrase, they're not in this mix.
There's no definition.
There's no definition.
No one knows how to handle this concept.
They're white. They're classified as white. But as Gustavo points out, if I am white, then why am I not allowed to do this? Why am I not allowed to? Why are Latino soldiers with the Medal of Honor not being buried in the cemeteries? Why is this? And so the Supreme Court had to look at this because the issue was that no Latino had been on a jury in Texas for 50 years. And so this is what he argued. And at the end, I think we're going to see the piece.
Yeah,
So
we're going
at
to
the
see
end,
it right. We're going to
You'll
see it
see
right
what
now.
he argued and what the judgment was.
Very good.
Yeah.
Will and Company at the South Omaha campus.
For this passionate man is the only Hispanic at the time to have argued a case before the Supreme Court of the United States. His name is Gustavo C. Garcia.
Your petitioner is an American citizen of Mexican descent.
What is that?
Seriously?
Is it what they commonly call a greaser?
It is, Your Honor, along with lazy, pepper-belly, shiftless, dirty, and dumb.
Do they speak English?
As well as you or I.
How come you are a citizen?
Well, my people were here 100 years before that wetback from Tennessee, Sam Houston, showed up.
That is not made up. Those are the actual questions the Supreme Court justices asked Gustavo.
Well, proceed, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment tells us that the exclusion of people of Mexican descent from jury service is unlawful. But the Texas Court of Appeals tells us that the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause only recognizes two classes of people, the white race and the Negro race. All people of Mexican descent are white people with Spanish names. Really? We are white? If I'm white, why is it I must go down the stairs to the outhouse at the back of the building, past the sign that reads, "Colored men, hombres aquí," and piss there? If I'm white, why is it that at every eatery within 5 blocks of this very courthouse, they hang signs that read, "No niggers, no dogs, or Mexicans"? If I am white, why is it that me, Staff Sergeant Garcia, wearing the Medal of Honor that President Truman just hung around his neck, is arrested for refusing to leave a restaurant that refuses to serve this national hero? And why is it, Your Honor, that still no person of Mexican descent has ever served jury duty in a Texas courthouse if we are white? If we are white, how? How could this be? The answer is simple. The whites don't like it.
Gustavo is so elegant in his argument. The 9 grant him an unheard of extra 16 minutes to make his case. Then they retire. Chief Justice Earl Warren returns with a verdict.
The plaintiff has the right to be tried by a jury in which his class are not excluded.
In this victory, Gustavo wins for all of us, the jury, the right to a jury of our true peers. This is a Herculean achievement.
Colin Cox, a.k.a. Earl Warren,
Earl
Chief
Warren.
Justice Earl Warren. I want to get the next one in real quickly here because we've got 2 more and our time's running out. But we've got a segment in the play, again, 50 years on, Brown and Proud, and this one is Latina.
Yeah.
Latina.
Can you set this up?
Sure, yeah. It's just talking about the issues and the life that Latinas live in America, and my favorite line in it is ni de aquí ni de allá. We are neither here nor there. There's no box to put Latinas in. Latinas have a wide label of who they are, who we are in America, and
By virtue of being
of being Latina, or
and
where they
female,
come from,
obviously.
and being a
Yeah,
female, yes,
yeah.
and being a female in America.
But now, and so you address this in the play from the historical context and today, right?
The historical context we do, you talk about that.
Yeah, we set up
history
there
of
in
Latinas.
1964. People like Dolores Huerta was founding the Youth United Farm Workers. Also, you have Sonia Sotomayor's
Sotomayor.
mother in Brooklyn, being a single mother, because the piece is also about single mothers, bringing her up to become the first Supreme Court justice.
Let's take a
You
look.
know, yeah.
Maria Ponce, 50 years on, Brown and Proud, as Will & Company presented this at Metro recently.
But the question is, what do you call us? What is a brown American? Who are we?
Hispanic? The word Hispanic was invented by the federal government to group people who come from Spanish-speaking countries.
Latino? Latinos are people from Latin America.
Neither of those work for me, because this brown person comes from an English-speaking country nowhere near Peru. I was born in the crab-loving state of Maryland. For me, Spanish is a subject in school. I am a dyed-in-the-wool, red-blooded, brown American.
Contrary to common opinion, the majority of Latinos in the United States are, in fact, American citizens.
Though when I went to Europe, I used to get asked,
Are you Arabic?
no,
Brazilian?
no,
Well, then what are you?
American?
American? How?
Well, my great-grandmother was Thai, and she married a German Jew she met in Hollywood. And my dad's mom is Black Panamanian, and she married a Mexican in Maryland. My mom's Thai-German mom grew up in Beverly Hills, and her husband is from New Jersey. Sounds pretty all-American to me. But still, for many of us, we are ni de aquí ni de allá, neither here nor there. Though, when I grew up, that was in Maryland, right? But then, so here, no matter what you want to call us, no one cooks like my abuela. But then she has owned the same pot she cooks in for more than 20 years. But when I go back home for family parties and stuff, she insists on stuffing my face whilst she laments, "Mija, you're too thin." Then when I realize I have to leave the family gathering an hour from now, and I better start saying my hasta la vistas, she piles me up with doggy bags of delicious treats that are just gonna send my diet into the crapper. Thanksgiving in my house is turkey with a side of tamales. Anyone feel my pain? There are some harsh realities to being a Latina in America today, especially if you're a single mom.
Half of all Latina mothers have less than 12 years of education, and 1/2 of all Latina single mothers live below the poverty line.
On my first day of high school, they tell all the freshmen to go into the gym. There are 1,000 of us. It's a big school. I'm so excited. Then the principal tells us,
Take a look at the person on your left. Now take a look at the person on your right. In 4 years, when you leave this establishment, one of you will have been pregnant and the other one of you will have dropped out.
that is not gonna happen to me. I am going to college.
Getting from a segregated barrio high school to a college campus is very hard for Latinas.
Like a lot in my generation, I'm the first in my family that got the chance to go to college. When I got accepted, for a long time, I didn't know what to do. I knew my mom would freak out. Not that I got in. Both of my parents have always pushed me to go, but because the college is so far away. The campus is on the other coast. I would be living in a dorm on campus.
Latinas are expected to go to a campus nearby home so that they can still live there and help out with the family economy.
Our families are poor. We feel guilty if money is spent on our education. It's why many of us work our way through college and we won't take out student loans. My mom's favorite saying is, give $1 to a man, God knows what will happen to it. Give $1 to a woman, she will spend it on her family.
Great job, Marie.
Thank you.
Super job. Was that the part where you caught the young woman's eyes? You said you saw somebody in the audience that you connected with.
Yeah, she talks a lot about her family. She talks about family, and that's, Latinas, they know their family. They can relate to a lot of things that she's saying. Questions that you get asked, do you speak Spanish? Do you speak Mexican? That sort of thing. Those questions always get asked. So there's light when you see lights and they relate of like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, or yeah, that's my abuela, or things like that. So when she goes on to say, these are the good things, these are the family things, these are what this is what life is like, and then she goes on to say, yeah, well, there's also some harsh realities. There's also other issues that come about being a Latina in America. Mm-hmm. And I think that's equally important. You equally see the light of, yeah, you're right. What you're saying, I resonate with that.
Yeah.
So,
what have been the best reactions you've gotten from your various audiences so far, as far as?
In Maine. We were in Maine last week. I think it was 3 words. To me, it was magnificent. And it was a young African-American man, actually, at the Latino show. And at the end of the show, he just looked up at us and he went, I needed that. Mm. That to me, actually, that's the best reaction. I was like, wow, I needed that. And then he went on to ask lots of questions and stuff like that. But I think just that simple statement. And I think it's that simple.
So how are we gonna get around the fact that, most of America is not going to be able to see this presentation? I mean, there's this need to communicate a lot of different things about reality, 50 years ago and today. But people live their lives. They just aren't exposed to and don't expose themselves to being educated.
We have to challenge the media, Kent. I think this is a media issue. I really, really do. I mean, TMZ, more power to you, but really, what a waste of media. TMZ, when there are so many close to the heart issues that the media could be picking up and could be running with. You want to talk about responsible journalism? Go out and find these issues, go out and find these stories and bring them into there are so many forms of media open to young people, find the way to traffic it through those. I think it is a responsibility. I think it's a journalistic responsibility, and I think it's a responsibility of media executives, wherever they be, to, you know, I went and interviewed people, found the stories, we go and we tour, and people find them fascinating.
Yeah, but you're a producer, a writer. You're in the entertainment business. I mean,
Right.
there's entertainment is the vehicle for education. In your case, the internet is there. I mean, you could put this on cable television, and would people watch it? Unless it's entertaining. That's why TMZ works,
But it is
because it's entertainment. I
sadly,
mean, you know what I'm saying?
Sadly. But I mean, we can get into. I'd love to do one just on TMZ alone. Never mind.
Well, write a play.
You know. But it is entertaining. I mean, the word that's been coined for the type of work we do is edutainment. You know, there's yes, it has to be entertaining. Yes, you go to see a piece, and yes, you have to have a visceral reaction as well as a cortical reaction. You meld those together. Now, you know, some of the smartest people in America work and in media industries. Find a way to make it edutainment. Find a way to, don't always go to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Raise the bar. Bill Cosby talks about it. You know, I mean, Bill Cosby has a PhD in education. That man, he's a lot of time for Bill Cosby. Bring it up. Don't always shove it down to the, you know, the weakest link. Make us all much stronger links, and make us all understand. You know, it's very interesting. I had a friend, a beautiful blonde Texan young lady, come to one of my shows, and she came because she knew me. I've got to go see Colin's show. And at the end of the show, she sat there stunned because she suddenly realized all of these stories are my stories. I am part of all of this. This is not a, you know, African American studies or a Latino American studies. This is America. And through these stories, you know, I challenge whoever's out there, the media, to make all of us realize that all these stories are about all of us. That, to me, would be responsible journalism and a responsible use of media. I really do throw that gauntlet down. I really do.
So, where all have you taken this presentation?
From Maine through New York, Connecticut, you know, we'll go the whole country. We'll do Texas. We'll do everywhere.
You think the reality? And by the way, we should show your website and
Sure.
Facebook page, because booking opportunity information.
Sure. Yeah. They can reach us.
So
yeah.
the website is
WillandCompany.com.
WillandCompany.com.
Yeah, you'll see a whole bunch of other shows. This is a brand new show, so itself isn't incorporated, though. Today's show will be incorporated on our website soon, so you can learn about it.
There's front page.
There it is.
Home
There's
page.
50 Years On. That's the series. That's the 7 plays. And obviously, the 50 Years On concept came because this is the 50 years from MLK standing at the end of the podium in Washington. So that's the concept. That was Portraits of Courage, which is the historical plays. I do believe that's Newton with you last year.
Yes, it
Kent.
is. Yeah.
So he was your guest last year. So you can go to that page and you'll find out about all of our shows and what it is that we do. And this 50 Years On, already we're going to be in Green Bay in February. Great. We're going to be back in Wisconsin.
I'm going to be in Wisconsin in the middle of the winter too.
There you'll know. We got
for
like
different
2
reasons.
weeks in Wisconsin in February with Green Bay and Milwaukee and stuff. Our LGBT show will be opening in February, so you know we're up and running and all over the place. So it's really
What kind
exciting.
of legs does the tour of this have?
They'll run for years.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll run for years. They tend to get compartmentalized into the Heritage Month.
Yeah.
Sadly, I think they should be year-round. You know what it is. But right now, obviously, clearly, Latino Heritage Month. Everybody wants a Latino show. BHM, Black History Month. They want the black show. So they tend to be compartmentalized, but they'll run for years. And we update them as our audience feeds back to us, which happened beautifully today with today's audience. They give us ideas, they give us suggestions. We update them and, you know, so they'll run. One of our shows has been running for 18 years.
Which one?
Faces of America, the one that started it.
Yeah.
I mean, they both went to see the performer in Orange County a couple of weeks ago to see her do it for, you know, 3,000 young people. So, yeah.
Let's take a look at our final clip from the South Omaha campus performance, Will and Company, 50 years, and what is it, 50 years on,
50
Brown
years
and
on.
Proud, and this is Latino
Yes.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
Let's take a
yeah.
look.
Here's something I'm going to guess you didn't know about Oscar. He is a Native American Latino. Yep, the 24-karat gold-plated statue is actually based on the Mexican kickapoo actor-director Emilio El Indio Fernandez.
Ironically, as Marlon Brando and James Dean are using the wretched Latino slur to create their rebels without a cause, Ferrer is the first Latino to break the stereotype of the word greaser.
In early Hollywood, in the era of the silent movie, America dishonored itself and all Latinos with a series of films known as the greaser movies.
The term greaser comes from the act of spreading oil on an axle, common labor for Mexicans in early California. The state of California then uses the term to create the law known as the Greaser Act. The Greaser Act defines a greaser as
A person commonly known as a greaser with Spanish and Indian blood who goes armed and is not peaceable.
Sadly, Hollywood embraces this notion of the greaser in a string of movies presenting despicable Mexicans who rob, rape, and murder.
The first of the greaser movies is The Greaser's Gauntlet, created by that master racist, the director of the world's first movie, Birth of a Nation, D.W. Griffith. Others soon followed: The Girl and the Greaser, The Greaser's Revenge, Bronco Billy and the Greaser, and Tony the Greaser.
In every one of these films, the villain is Mexican, a shiftless, grubby gunslinger with no morals, a taste for violence, and of course, a lust for white women. It is not until Hollywood is threatened with the loss of its Mexican and Latin American markets that the self-governing committee of the production code makes sure that they ban the use of the word greaser from its films.
It is Dolores Del Rio and the #1 box office star at the time, Rudolph Valentino, who actually give Hollywood Latinos a boost in the Roaring '20s with the advent of the Latin lover. Sadly, the boost is brought on by the stereotypical notion that all Latinos have voracious sexual appetites.
So first, we are greasy villains, then we become sex-starved viragos, then we become the help. It used to be that all the Mammy, Tilly, Beulah, prissy parts were played by African Americans. Now all the Rosa, Consuela, Catalina, y Marisa parts are played by Latinas. Since the year that today's freshmen were born, of the 16 maid roles on television, 11 of them are played by Latinas. The actress Lupe Ontiveros once declared,
I have played over 300 maids in my career.
well, folks, there you have it. According to Hollywood, Latinos are no more than servile, sex-starved snakes.
50 years on, Brown and Proud, Will and Company. And Marie, what's Latino Hollywood reality today? I mean, you Latina Hollywood. You're trying to navigate that.
It's tough. It's confusing at times because you want to work. You want to have work. We talk about the centralization of Latinas. You're the sexy Latina, or you're the maid, or you're the friend, or you're the chola, and they're very distinct boxes that they put you in.
Yeah.
I mean, Hollywood, we put each other in boxes. Latinos put Latinos in boxes.
Yeah.
So it can be tough, but we were talking about this today, just the responsibility that also Latinos have in Hollywood. I'm finding more, being inspired to write more, to write more characters that I want to play, because there isn't a whole lot sometimes. So how do you feel?
What responsibility do you feel?
Well, when we have opportunities to see our work, we don't go see our work. You know, Cesar Chavez movie comes out, and we don't come out to support that film. And so what Hollywood says is, well, no one's going to see this, so why do we need to do a movie?
Make more of
Clearly Latinos don't sell.
Gets back to the TV
Yeah.
conversation.
Clearly-
you can
clearly-
do something, but if people don't watch
No
it,
one sees it.
And what people do see, generally, I don't like. Why do, like Tyler Perry, everyone goes out and sees his work. And so we get more of that kind of work going out. And then you have these other people over here who complain about the validity of Tyler Perry's work, but they don't go support 12 Years a Slave.
yeah.
You know? And
Yeah, I
so
do know.
it's just like,
People complain about politics and don't vote.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
it's-
and then what happens
Million
is you have a
analogies.
movie about, people in Africa played by white people in this movie called Exodus coming out. Because white people, Hollywood says white people sells. And so the whole group of people gets excluded because they don't believe that they will sell, unless it's, Denzel Washington or Jamie Foxx or Idris Elba now.
Internationally, it's a bigger issue. When you go for international distribution, that's really where
Needs to be white.
it needs to be white. I mean, you can do a Chinese story and you have to have a white actor in it. It's really bad.
I want to give you all a chance to say what you want to say about the play, about the discussion, the bigger conversation. Take it where you want. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left.
I think, it was great. The reaction was really good today. And I think we're going to go on. We're going to create the Native American show. We're going to create, the LGBT is a big one. And that's going to be really interesting to see what that discussion brings. 2 days ago, the ruling on gay marriage, that really is where it's at. And things like transgender are really where it's at. And diversity and multicultural, the field of it, moving into issue-based, it's not just about, this is an African-American and this is a Latino, but it's those issues, the social justice issues that go along. And that seems to be the evolution of it. And I'm kind of encouraged with the younger generation in their willingness to actually engage in the conversation. I find it's people that are more your and my generation that don't want to talk about it, that want it shoved, and hasn't it all gone away now, and isn't it better? And I'm finding the younger generation, and I encourage them to really take these issues on and have this conversation and see where Anthony says in the play about 50 years from now, when your grandchild is sat in the seat, the very seat that you're sat in now, what America do you want that grandchild to be living in? And I think this is the topic that we're all engaging in.
What do you two think will be the answer to that question? Who will that person be 50 years from now?
Phrase your question again. I'm not.
Well,
very
relative to what Colin just said, the person sitting in the seat watching the play,
what will they
50
answer?
years from now, what reality will America be? Are we going to make some?
Hopefully.
See some changes. or-
Hopefully, changes happen. I said this earlier at the school. I don't want to tell the story 50 years from now, because I'm telling the same story today that we were telling 50 years ago. So 50 years later, we really hope that this spreads.
But do you think it will?
Yeah, I do.
I
when,
do.
When I'm in the when I see those children in the audience, students in the audience. Well, they were high school students today.
Yeah.
Children.
Still children.
In the audience, and you see them light up at these issues and these stories. I see a huge potential for action. I think the biggest issue is getting these stories into those demographics that will say that what we are presenting is reverse discrimination, when it's not. It's not. It's what it is. The reality of what it is. We're just telling you our side of the story, and when they hear it, you said it yourself. After we tell that thing about the braceros, what else can you do but look at this situation and say, oh wow, we have to do something to change this. You said it yourself. Yeah. So if we took this to a school where there were a bunch of a group of white privileged students and presented this story, I believe wholeheartedly, with the passion that she and I share for this piece, with the passion that's written into this piece, that it will instill a huge desire for change and self-responsibility for them to take on and then teach their children and their grandchildren, and their children's children, and to end bigotry. That's what all this is about.
Get honest. Get
honest with where you are, and then let it go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Marie, thank you.
Thank
Anthony,
you.
Colin, it's been a treat.
It's always great, Ken.
Check it out on the website. And thanks for being here. Appreciate it very much.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
being
so
with
much.
us again on Metro and More. Our goal is to better acquaint you with the mission, leadership, and the reach of the college. I'm Kent Pavelka for Metropolitan Community College.
This has been a MetroVision production produced by Metropolitan Community College.
As a student at Metropolitan Community College, you're part of something exceptional. You're part of a 40-year progression of excellence, part of a movement of emerging technology and dynamic partnerships with business and industry. You're part of an investment in this community to make it one of the best places to live and work in the nation. As a student at Metropolitan Community College, you're part of an exceptional opportunity. Metropolitan Community College.